appreciate um, everybody that is part of this live session. So, in case you're coming across my channel for the first time, this is Property Matters. I've been away for a very long time because I have some, please, the wireless microphone. Um, because I had to attend to so many things, and it's a great privilege and honor to be here. I'm very, very happy. So, I want to say a very big thank you to everybody that have reached out. I've not been around because we had to relocate from where we were to a better and a more conducive environment. And that is why you all have not seen me online for a very long time. So I'm glad to be here. Please help us sound check from the TV to know if we are audible and close. If you can hear me, let me know if you can hear me, and so that we can go to the subject matter of today's discussion. And what we're discussing today is of utmost importance, and it's something that we obviously cannot ignore. It's a very important thing because as a Nigerian, regardless of wherever you are across the world, you are very very concerned about what is happening, and from our situation, it seems basically that the Nigerian government. Okay, it says this accessory is not supported by the iPhone. Have you turned on the TV? All right, so let me know if you can hear me because I'm getting some feedback. So let's talk about this, and we're going to make our own personal recommendation as well. So, in case you're coming across this channel, please do well to subscribe, give us a like, join this live session, and you'll be super glad you did. So, let me know where you are joining us from. Let us have an interactive session today, and let us talk about insecurity in Nigeria, and let us have an extensive conversation over this because this is very very important. We should have important conversations like this, and conversations like this also will enable us to understand the situation, and of course gives us an opportunity for us. Okay, yes, thank you, Miss Goa. She can hear me, so we'll just go to the subject matter. Now, insecurity right now is becoming a major concern. Of course, we know basically that Nigerian has been plagued, with this situation for a very long time. Put it off. Thank you. So let us have this conversation very quickly, and I'm also going to give an opportunity to all of my online followers to join the conversation as well. So that's why I'm taking a brief pause. So when I have um, one or two people, okay, I have 12 people. All right, so we'll just go straight. So I want to apologize for not having this live session regularly like we used to. We had a lot of challenges. Of course, basically that presently in Nigeria right now, we are the one that is fending for our electricity. We are the one that is fending from the, and of course, there's been a lot of challenges. So if for anybody that is doing business in Nigeria and that has remained consistent, I want you to give that person a big hug. It's not easy. Please, I need a handkerchief. It's not um, as easy as it seems. Now, the reason why I'm having this conversation basically is that I have a lot of real estate investors who have invested in real estate through our agency, and I've been receiving tons of calls immediately after what happened in Oyo State, in Oriri local government of Oyo State, and it has become something of great concern. And trust me, I really, really, really appreciate the patriotism. Um, I really appreciate the patriotism. All right, so I appreciate um, the patrioticity of our people, and I appreciate everything. Thank you very, very much. Now, when we had this conversation, it was somewhere around last year, November, where I gave an extensive security framework of what the Southwestern governor decided in order to ensure that the recent killings and everything does not extend to the southwest. And basically, I think sharing that important security details online basically was not advisable at that time. Though I actually did that simply because I wanted our real estate investors to be aware that the southern states are equally up to the task, and they will do everything possible. But it seems basically that some states in the southwest are getting overwhelmed. Of course, if you have been following the news, which I believe you have, they've been reported cases in Oyo State. There've been endless cases in Ilorin, Kwara State. They've also been reported cases in Ondo and in other states. And right now, it's becoming an ideology, and a lot of people are scared. And I honestly do not blame anybody who is scared, because if I am to be in anybody's shoes, I think it is very important that some important security parameters are being taken into consideration in order to ensure that we don't have catastrophic events, not now, but obviously in the future. So it's a very, very secure thing. And the very first thing I would say basically is that, in as much as fact that a lot of people does not want to own up to the responsibility, I think it has gotten to a stage where every meaning Nigerian needs to start speaking up. And we need to start speaking up. So if you have a platform, if you have an avenue that you can reach, okay, to every government parastatals, I think this is actually the best time to use this. I have some couple of videos that I've also recorded. Now, someone has asked me this question, that in a sane country across the world, should we be, experiencing situations like this? Well, I'll just say basically that it is what it is now. Basically, right now, I think this is not actually the best time to start trading blames. The situation is definitely um, off beyond our circumstances now. And what I just believe we should do basically is that we should respond the way we should. So I'm having a call. Um, I'm having a call. All right. So the situation is quietly erupting, and there've been a lot of questions that I hope these people will not get to Lagos. They've been okay. Please let me quickly just. So a lot of people have been reaching out to me. We need to get to Lagos. How secure is Lagos? So what I'm going to say very quickly, basically, is to, because I spoke with a friend of mine, Emmanuel, who is a member of the police force, and I, of course, most of the concerns that were shared were things I also secure. We had a conversation with him, and I appreciate. So I want to start by saying a very, very big thank you to the Lagos State Governor, in the person of His Excellency Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu. Now, ever since that Oyo massacre, um, um, that unfortunate situation, I've noticed basically, because I have driven past some border towns of Lagos, and what I've discovered basically is that they've been increased border patrols. More importantly, in the rural areas, they've been increased border patrol. I've seen a lot of different security patrol van. More importantly, in the Bejuleki, Epe, Ijebode axis. So I'd say thank you, Lagos State Governor, for living up to this. And we also want to seize this opportunity to appeal that, please, we cannot afford basically that we relent on this. So we've had increased border patrol, and I would say, now what should other southwestern states do? Uh, Now, the reason why I'm a little bit concerned for some investors. Now, a lot of people have talked about what is happening is saying, because most of the areas, now there was a friend of mine, a church member of, because I won't say he's a friend, he's way older, he's an elderly person, but late last year I got a call. Well, no, early this year I can remember vividly. I got a call from him, and we had a conversation, an extensive conversation, and one of the things he told me basically was that his younger brother was actually attacked by these bandits. He was shot. Um, he was rushed to an hospital. He had two major operations, and it was quite unfortunate that we lost him. We lost him to that situation. And one thing I have come to realize basically is that when you study the pattern of operation, I would say that regardless of where you are, basically, everybody needs to be security conscious. We cannot overemphasize that, because we are seeing basically that it seems that these people are operating, and the security operatives also need to wake up and do their work the way it should be done. It's quite unfortunate that ever since all these events have been happening, we've not had major arrests. And I'll just say vividly that there's no need to panic. Okay, but there's a need to be security conscious about what is happening in your environment. Now, the first thing I'm going to say basically is that for most of real estate investors who are buying now, I did want to have this conversation. What actually necessitated this conversation was due to the fact that I had a lot of investors, those who bought, farmlands, those who bought a lot of things, and they were asking, how secured is my investment, blah blah blah. Will you people able to to monitor what is happening? Of course, we put that into consideration. Shut the door. We put that into consideration. We knew basically that there are security challenges, and we will not allow your investment, go unmonitored or go unsupervised, because we know basically that human beings, we can't just give them the liberty to do what they like. So, first of all, if you have bought any, whether you bought the next generation farm, congratulations, we're going to be allocating real estate investors tomorrow by the special grace of God, or whether you bought our Palm Ridge project, you can be rest assured basically that we have local security guards. Yes, we have local security guards. We have armed security guards, and we are working with different security outfits to ensure that your investment is safe. So we have also done our own personal investigations and due diligence to find out most of the areas that are prone to these security attacks. And one of the things I would say basically is that we need to have a well verified information, so that this information will help us make informed decisions on where to pitch your real estate investment. So the question I ask basically is that, will Lagos be overrun? Will Lagos be taken over by these armed bandits? So I had that, that question. So I said I was not going to have respond to that question privately. That I'm going to answer that question in one of my online sessions, and that's what I'm doing at the moment. So let us have this conversation now. Realistically, if you have studied the pattern of these terrorists that have been, that have been terrorizing the nation, you would have observed basically that most of their operations are restricted to the villages and rural area. Now, when I had that conversation with my friend Emmanuel, who is also a police officer, and he explained the reason why it would be suicidal for them to start attacking major cities and everything. And the reason why it's very difficult for them to attack major cities basically is due to the fact. Now, I'm going to state some two obvious factor that is stated. Now, I'm not using this video to market Lagos, but I'm just using this video to explain why Lagos is a place of interest. Now, a lot of people have come online to explain and said that there's an Islamization agenda, and anybody that takes Nigeria takes everything. And the three reasons why Lagos remains now, the only areas where I think the governor, His Excellency Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, the areas where I think he should intensify security are the border towns. Now, I'll mention some of the border towns. The first one you should pay attention to is Badagry. So he needs to pay attention to Badagry. It is very important because there are a lot of bushes in those axes. The governor also needs to pay strong attention to Ekpe, because Ekpe is a border town to Ijebu-Ode. And the Lagos government also needs to pay closer attention to the Itoki, um, Ikorodu axis. Those are border towns, okay? Now, the reason why basically is that we don't have much police station in those axes. So that's the first point I need to intensify. Now, recently I discovered that the Lagos State government has actually built a police station, a functional police station in the Lagos Ijebu-Ode bridge. I said bridge. Lagos Ijebu-Ode toll gate. Yes, there's a functional police station there. And anytime you drive towards that place, you will see some security operatives. And I would advise that that should also be done to places like Badagry, most of the border towns, and we should also have forest guards. We should also have forest guards. I really want to appreciate what has been done majorly in ibeju-lekki. There's hardly a place right now that you go. More importantly, the eleko, where in fact even the indigenes in those places, they are even more security conscious. The last time I did a personal inspection there, some of them challenged me and said, "Can you please identify yourself?" So I actually brought out my ID card and I told them basically that I really appreciate what they are doing. Now, it's not as if like uh, we are anticipating evil. No, we are not anticipating evil, but it is very, very important that we don't leave things to chances. We don't leave things to chances. Now, there was a scenario or something that happened. Now, the reason why I'm going through these procedures to explain what is actually happening, for you to understand that it is very important you understand what is going on. Now, is Lagos a major area that these people will be looking at? Yes, Lagos obviously is a major area. And will they be anticipating to attack Lagos? Now, if there are areas that if the government does not intensify security, the areas that are prone to most of these attacks are the border towns. And I would say basically that um, the security operatives and the administrators of these border towns should pay close attention to those areas because they are sharing boundaries. To God be the glory, we've not had issues in places. Yes, I also forgot to mention the Lagos Ibadan Expressway. I want to thank the Redeemed Christian Church of God. I also learned from a pastor friend of mine that they are also planning to have a security outfit to to be conscious of what is going on. And the most important thing basically is that at this point we're in the 21st century, so this is actually the time we should be exploring technology. We should have drones moving around, more importantly, those areas and bushes. And I would also say basically that government should start giving approval so that people will start building in those bushes. Like for instance now, some areas of Epe right now are having issues. And Epe used to be a place whereby real estate activities were very, very prominent. And if not for the fact that the government introduced the Epe master plan, I can tell you that with some of the challenges that we are facing with house rent crazy rental properties, a lot of people would have started developing their properties in Ekpe. So I'll say that government should start turning, okay, most of those bushes into residential activities. Now, the more we keep having more residential activities, the lesser all these things begins to happen. Now, as a real estate investors, should this basically discourage you from investing back home? I've had a lot of questions, and basically, should I pause anything I'm doing as far as real estate is concerned simply because I honestly cannot? Now, the first thing basically is that it's quite unfortunate that we're having this conversation in the first place. That's the first thing. In this time and age, we should not be having conversation of terrorists attacking, and there seems to be no response from the people that should be responding. Now, I'm not trading blames, but sometimes we find ourselves in a situation whereby there seems to be some compromises in some of the things that is being done, and it's quite discouraging. However, it still does not negate the fact that we should start paying attention, adequate attention to some of the areas. Now, the question I someone asked me, which I am going to talk extensively, is can they take over Lagos? Can they take over Lagos? Will Lagos be overrun by the terrorists? Will Lagosians start looking for alternative destination, or scouting for how would I say, for safer haven? Yes, I've asked. A lot of people have asked me that question. Now, let's quickly talk about the areas. When I started this conversation, I said if there's going to be an attack, I'm not ruling out the fact that there will not be an attack, because right now we have come to realize that these guys cannot be underestimated. And like I said, I also appreciated the governor who has, introduced different border patrols, and these guys have been moving around, and I think there is more security awareness now. So I would say, basically, I'm impressed. But one of the reasons why I feel basically that Lagos cannot be overrun is that anything that happens to Lagos means Nigeria is gone. And I'm going to explain why. Now, I'm not saying that insecurity is politically motivated. I am not a political analyst, and very soon we'll be diving into some important aspects. Of course, I think I'll be releasing a video very soon where you'll be understanding why insecurity is actually gaining ground in some part of the country. I have an extensive analysis, okay, a scholarly conversation, okay. For some of you who don't know, I'm also a scholar from the University of Lagos. So I've done a lot of research, okay, about the Sokoto jihad, the jihad of Uthman Danfodio, and from the scholarly research, and of course, I've written several papers on this conversation. So I think it's very important that we start having some intellectual conversations like this, so that you can understand that from the lens of history, what is happening is not new, and also from the lens of history, you'll be able to know how most of these situations were able to be subdued, okay, to the fact. So if anything happens to Lagos, there is no country. That's the first thing. Why? Because Lagos is actually the commercial heartbeat of the nation. That is number one. Now, will there be an attack? I'm not ruling out the possibility that there might not be an attack. We are not anticipating evil. Now, if these guys are at Ibadan in Oyo State, Oyo from Lagos basically is just a matter of 1 hour or 1 hour 20 minutes drive, depending on where you're coming from. So would there be? So I'm not saying there might not be. I'm not saying there will be an attack. Please, I'm online, and whenever I'm making a conversation like this, it is very important that I am as plain and I am not misunderstood. So that's just one thing. I'm not saying Lagos will not be attacked. I'm not saying Lagos will not be attacked. I'm not saying Lagos will be attacked. Okay, I'm not trying to anticipate something that is evil, but I'm saying that if it seems from their operations, these people seem to be drawing closer. But what I'm saying is that if there will be an attack, because you see, if there will be an attack, the areas that are prone to these attacks are these border towns. We're talking about border towns like the Epejepo is likely to attack, the Ketu, those are border towns. They are likely to attack. The Badagry is likely to attack. And I hope you also know that there are some part of Ikorodu that shares boundary with Shagamu. Okay, these are areas that I've taught when I started real estate. So those are also border towns. So what should happen basically is that the local government chairman of this place should start mobilizing, even if they cannot afford um, armed security, they should start, mobilizing hunters, people to ensure. And of course, like I said, this is the 21st century. We should have drones moving. Okay, so, but for the fact that the capital of Lagos will be attacked, that obviously will not happen. And I'll explain the reason why. Because there've been reported cases of attack in Abuja, but I'm yet to see any in Guzape or in all those prime Abuja areas. Why? And the same situation is similar to Lagos. Alhaji Aliko Dangote owns his largest investment in Lagos. The Lagos Calabar Coastal Road, of course, we all know that costs over 15 trillion in Lagos. Major industries, major companies, major conglomerates, and of course, we all know the Eco Atlantic, they are all situated in Lagos. So what the reason why I want you to be rest assured that your investment in Lagos is secured is that you are not the only person investing in Lagos. So what I'm trying to say basically is that the rich and the mighty, the privileged and the billionaires have larger percent of their investments in Lagos, Abuja, and maybe Port Harcourt, to mention but a few. So it will be unreasonable for these people to fold their hands and watch their investments just go, because you see, one of the major consequences of this is that instead of Lagos to be scared, Lagos should be worried. Now, the reason why Lagos should be worried basically is that because of the fact that if the neighboring states that are within the confines or outside the confines of Lagos are perpetually experiencing insecurity, that means that there will be large influx of migration of people into Lagos. Now, the consequences for this is that it will put pressure. Now, I have said it, if you have been following me, I've done several videos where I have said that even the available houses that we have in Lagos cannot go round. Inflation has affected the cost of living, and of course, it has also, excuse me, please, can I get water? It has also affected the rental properties is here. So what is going to happen is that if this neighboring town or other towns across the country continually experience insecurity, that means we will have migrants, more migrants in Lagos, and they will be available, and there will be what? Pressure on real estate. And whenever there is pressure on real estate, it will give property owners and property developers an avenue to increase their price, because they know that whether you complain or not, okay, a lot of people will still pay through their nose. to have it. So the reason why Lagos real estate, in fact, I am not saying that the purpose of everything is to probably extend rental opportunities. What I'm saying basically is that if other states turns out not to be safe, if the border towns are open to consistent security threats, it will put a lot of pressure on properties in other parts of Lagos. And this is why you need to see that this is not just beyond insecurity. There are a lot of economic factors that are attached to these situations. And this is why it is very important that we're having this conversation. It is very important for us to know. Now, it is impossible for Ekwa Atlantic to be overrun by terrorists. It is impossible, okay, for Lekki Phase 1 to be overrun by terrorists. It is impossible for most of these areas to be overrun because of why? The caliber of people who reside in this area can single-handedly get a security outfit that can protect them. Now, I'm not saying that the government will not provide, but in a situation whereby there's a need for an emergency security things with a phone call, you start seeing drones, patrol helicopters start circulating those areas. So I can assure you basically that the only affected areas that may be affected are the border towns, the areas where we see have most of these bushes and some other things. So what you should do basically is that now I'm going to be doing a video giving an insight on why this insecurity is now becoming a major concern. Okay, I have a video that I shot just I think yesterday, and to be edited, and I will drop it by the special grace of God next week, so that we can have an understanding of what is happening. So there's going to be pressure. So the civilized and more developed areas will start having large influx of migrants. That's going to be because you see, in a situation whereby it has become or it is becoming a continuous experience, there is pressure and people will be tempted, okay, to find alternative, alternative, safer investment destination. So that's going to be the major consequences. So my advice basically is that let me also reiterate this fact. I am not saying that terrorists will attack Lagos. I'm not giving an example. I'm just saying that if it will happen, the areas that are majorly at risk are the border towns. Because if you follow the pattern of operation of some of these guys, they operate from bushes, they operate from forest, and they retreat their formation and some other things. Now, in an area where they have to, expand their operation, it might be through having a suicide bomber, like what happened in Borno, I think at the beginning of this year, where some set of suicide bombers went to a nearby hospital, they went to a mosque, and there were a lot of casualties. But you see, there's an upgraded security system in Lagos. Most of these areas, we have CCTV cameras, we have security patrol. In fact, most of these mega churches right now are fully security, they are security conscious of their environment. And you need to understand basically that in as much as fact that you have decided to see this, okay, basically from that particular point of view, it's an opportunity for other people. So we really need to have an accurate understanding. So instead of saying that you want to pause your investment, this is where you should invest more. Now, I am not saying that you should not invest in Nigeria. I'm just saying that you should study the pattern of operation, understand some of these circumstances, and use this as a landmark to know where to pitch your investments. Now, a lot of people have been going to the money yard, they saying right now, these areas are mostly abandoned places. Now, right from the onset, I've had a lot of real estate investors reaching out to me. I'm not trying to demarket the area, but I've been there several times. And the last time I sincerely don't understand why you're buying properties there. I sincerely because That number one, apart from that, is an outskirt town. There is no developmental, a realistic development framework that that place is coming lively in the next 10, 5 years, because those areas are like, the reason why um insecurity is thriving in Africa is because we have a lot of abandoned properties, abandoned projects that should be converted to industrial areas. And for the fact that the government are not doing this, they are giving, opportunities for ugly situations like this to thrive. So right now, this is not the time for you to start buying acres in a saying, because right now, in fact, information is reaching us, okay, though unverified, is saying that most of the hideout of these bandits are in that money is saying. And for that church member friend of mine that was attacked, okay, it was attacked along that, is saying, was shot by bandits there. So if you are investing, basically, please, in areas that are prone, to security problems like this, I think we should start focusing more on the mostly populated areas, developed areas, and of course, investing in places where there is a proven security architecture. You understand how these are. Okay, how frequently do we have patrol? What are the CCTV camera? What are the security situations? These are some of the things that we need to understand. Okay, and these are some of the things that we need to put into consideration. So I'm not trying to say basically that you should not invest. What I'm trying to say basically is that you need to understand the security architecture for that location before you start putting money. Okay, a lot of people have spoken to me. You didn't even tell me about saying you talking about money here. I said, first of all, the last time I went there, I wish I was not even there in the first place, because I spent hours, like I spent good number of hours, okay, trying to locate this place. And I was like, for crying out loud, what exactly are people doing? They say, there's a terminal, there's a train. The question is, how many people are using that train? How many people have left money here? Or how frequently do people leave money here to come to Lagos and go back to money here? That place is too far. It's more or less like an hideout. And that is why it explains why it becomes very, very necessary, very, very easy, okay, for those areas, locations like that, to have, inflow of what, insecurity. There will be insecurity because those areas, these guys thrive in areas that are abandoned. Of course, we are seeing it, okay, that they operate in forest. If we have, a sophisticated security architecture, we should have drones patrolling those areas. We should have patrol helicopters patrolling these areas. We should be, I wouldn't want to go into that, but I'm just trying to let you know basically that regardless of what is happening or what has been happening, this obviously is an opportunity for you to have an understanding and knowing where to invest. Because you see, I saw something very recently, and I'm going to share this experience. 2 weeks ago, I was in Abeokuta, and I have some couple of projects that I'm doing in collaboration with some Abeokuta developer, and I'll be sharing that very soon. Now, I discovered some shocking things, and although I'm not saying it in this video, but I just thought of something on my way back when we're driving back, and what actually came to my mind basically is that insecurity. Could it be that it's something like a propaganda, not like a propaganda. How do I put this? I'm looking for, a well simplified term to use here. Could it be that some people are using insecurity to discredit Nigeria so that they can maximize the economy opportunities in Nigeria? I was just thinking out loud. So I just felt basically, so I'm going to be having an extensive conversation where we are going to be looking at this holistically, and let us talk about this some other time. Now, in conclusion, please let me know where you're joining us from. It's very important. So I have some couple of questions here. Now, I'm not a security expert, so please be very, very mild with the kind of question you ask. I'm not trying to say I am going to be dodging some questions, but we're going to have some of this. Now, one thing I've discovered basically is that let's look at some of the things that are that are the possible consequences of insecurity. Now, even in the real estate market, areas that should have developed beyond what development used to be seems to be abandoned. And thank you very much. Wow, thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining us. Now, this is almost 5 o'clock, and this is, one of the reasons why I usually have this live session at this time is that most people are always joining us by this time. Thank you. Thanks for joining. Thanks for joining. Now, if this situation continues um, to linger for a very long time, it's going to have a catastrophic impact. The reason why I use the expression catastrophic is that the moment people begin to see that rural areas are prone to insecurity, it will affect the development of that area. Now, there are places now that have been sacked. People have gone to different areas where they know that there is adequate security that can protect them. We've had these repeated cases in Ilorin, in Kwara State. Presently, right now, is happening in Ekiti and in other places. Now, if you should study, now a lot of people have given a lot of narrative to this, saying that the intention of insecurity is to sack people from their homeland and have some people take over. Well, I am not a security expert. Security architecture is not my area of specialization, and though it's my area of concentration because we all have to be, security cautious, which is very, very important. We obviously cannot negate the facts. Right. So, however, the uncontrollable migration of people, okay, from these areas to all these neighboring areas will leave most of those areas undeveloped. So you will now discover that development seems to be more obvious, more rapid in some places over some places. And whenever there is a necessity for people to flee their present area of residence because of security reasons, what will happen to the urban areas basically is that there will be pressure and overpopulation in those areas. And this is some of the things that we need to extensively talk about. And this is why I am appealing to every state governor, to please try as much as they can to see how they can reduce the situation so that the development will be even. Because you see, the more we have uncontrollable migration of people to urban areas simply because of security, and knowing fully well that even people that are already in these urban areas are finding it extremely difficult to even have a roof over their head, it will now become extremely difficult for houses to go round. Now, how can I explain a scenario that a house in ibeju-lekki? Now, when I talk about ibeju-lekki, let me quickly state this, that I am not trying to uh, make ibeju-lekki look smaller. No. What I'm trying to say basically is that based on the level of urbanization that I've seen, of course, I used to be a resident of the Lagos mainland, and I shuttle maybe twice a week between Lagos mainland and Lagos Island. And I also finished from the University of Lagos. So we have seen what a functional city should look like. So based on the parameter of our own exposure, we can accurately tell if something is overhyped and overpriced. Now, based on what we have seen in places like Ikeja, Victoria Island, let me mention those sophisticated places. I can categorically tell you that most of the people that are building or having real estate in ibeju-lekki are mostly indigenous from those areas. And the reason why I'm saying this is due to the fact that give this region 3 years, the most cheap, in fact, I don't even talk about cheap. If you have gone to Macarius Champion, you know there's Macarius Luxury Place, there is Macarius Champion. I'm not marketing it, bro. I'm not marketing, but I'm just trying to let you know what is actually happening. Now, what is happening is that in Macarius Champion right now, a 500, no, a 1,000, what am I even saying? A 500 square meters, I know what I'm talking about, of land. I don't know if they've increased it. It's presently 100 million. And a 300 square meter is selling for 68 million. Now, question is, in ibeju-lekki, the question basically most of people don't understand is that ibeju-lekki is becoming much more populated now, and I will explain. Now, there are areas whereby it rains, there's still some water, like not like flooding, not like the kind of flooding you see in Lekki or other places. What actually causes flooding in some areas of Ibeju-Lekki is that there's no good drainage system that can channel water to the appropriate places that they should be. So that's why sometimes if you have been to some of these areas, you will still see drainage, you will still see a stagnant water line and some other things like that. So, but what I'm trying to say is that if this matter of insecurity persists and it becomes uncontrollable, the developed area may face a problem of overpopulation. And we obviously need to discuss about this. So, what I would just say in essence, basically, is that despite the fact that there is insecurity and this news travels afar, now whenever there is a reported case of kidnapping, banditry, and some other things, when you are analyzing the situation, it is very important that you give an objective analysis to whatsoever news that has been given to you. So, based on what we have observed since this issue became a major topic for discussion, is that the areas that are prone to these attacks are areas that are border towns, villages, and rural areas. And what you need to understand is that instead of putting all your investment, because you see, saying that because there is security challenge in the country, and because of that, you want to use that as a yardstick not to invest, is not a good investment, it's not a good decision. Because you see, even some of the top nations across the world have security challenges. However, it's just that the way they have managed their own, okay, has reduced some of these negative news to its barest minimum. Okay, when you go to states like Jamaica, you still see, but their own is that terrorists is not coming from unknown bushes and and attacking people. Their own areas is just like, so there are areas whereby there are states or countries across the world that are crime scene. However, the reason why this has persisted is that I would say the leaders of Nigeria needs to do more. They need to do more. If the appropriate security measures are being put in place, which I believe it will, we should not be having this conversation. In the 21st century, I think the conversation we should be having is how Nigerian real estate can start meeting up with global real estate, how we can scale problems. I think the conversation we should be having more basically is due to the fact that how we can solve the problem of housing deficit. We should talk extensively more about how we can reduce housing crisis or how foreigners can take advantages. We should have intellectual conversations like what is happening in the shortlet areas, in the shortlet market. Why do we have more developers doing more shortlets than residential houses? We should be talking about how governments can have equal participation or probably private public participation on making affordable houses. These are the kind of conversation we have, but we are finding ourselves in a situation whereby we just cannot but talk because we are concerned people and we want the progress of the nation. So it's quite unfortunate, and I believe that the security operative will start waking up and they will start doing what is necessary. So these are some of the things. So will my investment be affected? For most of your investments, okay, that like for most real estate investors now that you have carried your money to go and buy 100 acres in money is saying, okay, that you have gone to all this Ekiti and so, but I'm not saying you should not invest, okay. I'm not trying to make other states look bad or something. What I'm just trying to say basically is that you will not experience more activities on those areas because of security. So it will affect. There was a scenario like that. I think 2 years ago. Was it 2 years ago? I want to try and recall. Was it 2 years ago? Yeah, I think it's around 2 years ago. Yeah, roughly around 2 years ago, where there were cases of kidnapping in Igbonla. For some of us who know Igbonla, Igbonla is more or less like the boundary between Epe and Ogun State. If you have driven past that region, you will understand. So there was a case, in fact, this one was even a case of kidnapping, okay? And the situation was very worse that an engineer friend of mine was kidnapped. And as at that time, I think the kidnappers demanded for 10 million ransom. And to cut the long story short, because of the fact that there have been repeated cases, although the criminals responsible for this kidnapping, okay, this happened several years ago, in Ekpe have been apprehended, they have been arrested. In fact, there was a time that even when they were arrested, they were paraded to the king of Ekpe, and of course, I think it was in the news. And but do you know that despite the fact that these guys have been apprehended and there's some level of peace has returned to that Ekpe, that trauma has stopped people investing majorly in that Ebola. That's a fact. In fact, I have an investor who came in from I think from the States and she bought a property and she happens to come in when this case of kidnapping in Ebola was like a no. And when she said, Adejare, I'm in town. I want to go and see my land. I said, see what? I know this sounds very, very funny, but I said, hello, ma, we ain't going to see anything. So I have to explain to her that, man, there have been reported cases of kidnapping in Igbunla at that time. And even for me as a person, I have properties in Igbunla, but I have just zeroed my mind. And I can tell you, because of that issue of kidnapping, the value of properties in Igbunla, or you won't even notice real estate activities in Bonda because you see that's several occurrence of repeated kidnappings have plagued real estate in that area negatively. So if you have for now, I think there was excuse me, I want to take water. Thank you. So it's saying right now, Monia right now, Orire area of Oyo State right now is a security threat. And It doesn't matter what you have bought there. That area is in most places where kidnappings are more rampant. Investment in those areas struggle. So if you're an investor, if you have invested there, good, but please stop investing there. Stop, because you see, it's very painful and very, very unrealistic. I'm going to be doing a series about the actual problems some real estate developers are having in that money I saying. It's going to be an episode. It's going to be an episode, an extensive episode, where I'll be explaining to you why some developers are having issues, why a lot of lands will be reacquired. That's obviously not on today's episode, because I don't want this episode to be very, very long, but we just have to talk about it. So there's a lot I've come to discover about that axis, okay? And I don't want to possibly go into extensive details like that, but we will definitely look at that. So what is happening in those areas right now is pause your investment and do something in other region. And finally, diversify. Now, I have this investor friend of mine, and I think we've had this conversation. And one of the reasons why we fight most times is due to the fact that he doesn't believe in diversification. He just believe, let me buy when I grow old, I can sell. But you have to diversify. Now, there are different kind of investments. Now, with the level of exposure and based on some of the books we have read, some of the projects we have overseen, some of the things we are exposed to, there are some kind of properties I cannot recommend to you. That's just a fact. Not because of the fact that other projects may not be profitable, but you should understand very well that the recommendation of your real estate practitioner will be based on the areas of exposure. So it will be quite unfortunate and sad if you are still operating with real estate consultants with shallow minded real estate consultants. It will be very, very sad and unfortunate. Mommy, come and carry your son. Oh. How are you? So it will be very, very, I would say, very, very unfortunate, because you see, everything you have to do in real estate is not just land. Real estate has gone beyond somebody will just sell bush and will put gates and fence, and that is all. No. We need to understand that this is actually on the final note, because I don't want this video to be unnecessarily long. Now, real estate has gone beyond the fence a bush and they call it land banking. Real estate has gone beyond you have to buy a place and wait for 5, 10 years. Now, I have an episode where I'm going to be explaining this, and in this video, in that episode, I am unapologetic about some of the things I said, and this is why it is very important that you subscribe to this channel. Okay, we have explosive and mind-blowing, real estate investment opportunities. So, the 21st century real estate has gone beyond buying bushes and leaving it for a while. They are investments in locations that will start giving you good rental um good rental opportunities. They are investments. And I'm going to be doing a real estate series where I'm going to be exposing to you what you need to know, understand about the Lagos market. Now, what happens in this our industry basically is that people sell what they have. They don't sell what you need. And it is quite unfortunate that some investors don't even know what they need. So it is very important, I say this. So quit buying bushes and start turning your bushes into, see, they are real estate investment company. I'm talking about notable, profound, certified, and integrity-based real estate companies that will turn that land banking into profitable agricultural real estate opportunities. There are some that are planting plantain. Some people are doing cocoa, some people are doing palm oil. So diversify. Have a sophisticated real estate portfolio that will circulate real estate, the major part of what? Profitable real estate in Nigeria. As you are buying farm, as you're doing land banking, yes, land banking is good. I'm not discouraging you from doing land banking. What I'm trying to say basically is that let's look at how we can convert those land into functional cash flow. It is, to me, absurd for me to put an investment, put 100 million, put 60 million, put 30 million in an investment, and in 3, 4, 5 years I won't get anything meaningful. To me, it is not a wise real estate investment. So have agriculture in your portfolio, have commercial real estate in your portfolio, have shortlets in your portfolio, go into the business of hotel and hospitalities. There, if see, the opportunities here are just so endless, and it is very important that you take advantage of this. So I'm going to take a brief pause now while I have some couple of questions here. I have a couple of questions here that I'm going to be attending to very soon. I have some couple of questions here. I really, really um, apologize. It's quite much. It's quite much. Whoa, it's quite much. Quite much. And I have some notable question as well. So what I'm going to do basically is that I'll try as much as I can. The questions here are very, very much. So I think we should be having another session. So what I'm going to be doing now is that for now, because of our tight schedules, we're going to be having this every Wednesdays and Friday by the special grace of God Almighty. We're having a live session on Wednesdays, and we're going to be having it on Fridays, so we can have more of these, intellectual conversations, and we'll look at this. So I have a question. So this person says, how are we going to unravel areas that are prone to insecurity? Now, that's a broad question. The very first thing I need to say, or the major clarifications I need to make right now is that I am not a security expert. So I obviously cannot say these areas are safe, these areas are not safe. If I should do that, then I will be misleading you, because I believe that people who have undergone, security trainings will be, exposed to their pattern of terrorist organization or their activities or how they operate. So I obviously cannot give you an extensive explanation on one of the areas you concentrate on or areas you should concentrate on. But based on what we have observed from their pattern of operation, from their modes of attack, is that majority of their attacks, okay, basically are based on areas that are the border town, areas that are bushes, and some other things like that. Now, whether they will now have the effrontery to start attacking cities or some other things like that is what I cannot say. But what I can say basically is that a lot has been invested so much in Lagos that even the president himself would not allow. In fact, most of their properties, top dignitaries have their investment in Lagos, and security in Lagos will not, be undermined. I can guarantee you that security in Lagos will not be undermined. So it is very important that we understand it. So I obviously cannot, give area. I cannot say, okay, these are the areas that are safe, these are the areas that are safe, but I can just give from my own perspective on, okay, what will be, because you see, for every circumstances and everything that happens, there's always an opportunities. Things are not entirely bad, basically, because sometimes majority of us have been trained to only see the negative, but basically for every activities there is a positive side and there are negative side. So it is very important that we do a holistic um, approach to this and understand where the opportunities are and where the official things are. So we need to look at this very quickly, and we can understand this. So, Mr. Uh, Olaoluwa Kadri, okay, I can't say, but basically, I would say that for now, I would not invest in border towns for now, because most of those areas right now, except, okay, now there's an exception to that. There's an exception to that. So there are some real estate companies that have farms, they have things, and they have established a security outfit to protect, the investment of their investors. So there are some companies, reputable real estate companies, who have, envisaged the possibility of attacks like this happening, and they have made adequate preparation to ensure that your investment are safe. So if you can identify some of those companies with a good security architecture, yes, you can invest with them, because you see, regardless of what might be happening or what is happening in the country, the opportunities here are endless. The opportunities. What do you think the Chinese have over this Chinese settlement basically in Ogun State is over 65%. When you go to the interchange, they are there. When you go to the Mowe houses, they are there. These guys are investing. In fact, they've bought big investments. That is to show you that there are opportunities here. However, you need to do a holistic analysis, know where the opportunities are, know where the risks are, and know how to balance both, so that you can, have an extensive uh, overview concerning that. So there's also another thing I also want to quickly respond to. So this one says, what are the signs that a company may not allocate as at when due? Okay. I like the fact that these questions has been asked, and I'll try as much as I can to look at that. Now, when you are dealing with a real estate development company, track record is very, very important. I've said this several times, and I'm going to say it again. Now, I've had, even I myself, as a real estate practitioner in Lagos and as a real estate investor, because we just don't sell, we also invest. So I've had I've had ugly situations. And when I began to dissect what could be, the possible reason for some of these things, and I discovered basically that I actually dealt with people that I should have ignored. And one of the things I know basically is that track record is very important. Track record is very. So you definitely need to look at this, and you definitely cannot afford to ignore track record. So that's just one of the things that I would say. So I'm also going to look at some important questions. So time is of utmost utmost importance. So I may not be able to attend to, but I will take questions, because for some people have my direct number, so they send me messages on WhatsApp. So these are some of the messages I've received. Can you see? I don't know if you can see them. So these are okay. The light is entering in. So these are some of the messages I've received. So I've received numerous messages, and my time is almost up, because I have some important things I needed to attend to. But so this is actually Property Matters. My name is Alichai. I'm your host, and by the special grace of God, let's do this every Wednesdays and Fridays. And I believe if we do so, I'll also be dropping some educative videos on this channel. So if you're coming across this channel, you're at the right place as far as matters relating to Nigeria is concerned, not just real estate. Okay, for those who might actually be seeing my face for the first time, or those who might just be following my videos, I'm a real estate investment analyst. I'm a realtor. I sell properties, and I guide you to where to do. And I have many years of experience. And if you work with us, it will be an exciting experience. I can guarantee you. So that's just one of the things. So in a nutshell, I don't want it to be too of course we're ending 70 minutes. This video is supposed to be an hour. So I want to start by saying a very big thank you to everybody. Please, if you have not subscribed to this channel, please Biko help me now and subscribe, and please share this video. If you have comments, you can drop it. We will definitely attend to that. So I want to say a very big thank you to everybody that have joined this live session. For people that have answered questions, I apologize if I'm unable to respond to the question, because I have numerous questions that I have to attend to, and it is very important I do so. Thank you very much. God bless you, and let's do this by next week. God bless you. Bye.